The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to drive them out and to cure every disease and every illness. The names of the 12 apostles are these. First, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew, James the son of Zebedee and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the Cananean, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus. Jesus sent out these 12 after instructing them thus: "Do not go into pagan territory or enter a Samaritan town. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, make this proclamation: the kingdom of heaven is at hand." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this is the great trajectory of the Gospel of Matthew, and I think it's made clear to us in any number of ways at this point what Jesus has been doing heretofore, and then what he expects to come after. But yeah, the appointing of the 12, and this is the first time that we see the apostles called apostles here, and of course it happens in the action of their being sent, right? The word means one who is sent. So as Jesus sends them, the 12, they rightly pick up this name, and there are any number of very interesting things that we see even just as we rehearse this list of names that of course we're familiar with, we know so well. There can't be a mention, for instance, of Judas Iscariot without the sense, okay, well, he betrayed Jesus, and it's not simply a forward-looking comment, although that's got to be the main thrust of it. But the idea, of course, is that he did betray Jesus, but also here he is, right in the mix with everybody else, right in this 12 being sent plan of Jesus, right in his Israel renewing plan. There's Judas, and it gives perhaps particular contour to any number of the parables that Jesus gives, right? The Jesus offers, the weeds and the wheat, for instance. I mean, does Jesus know what's going? Anyway. There's a lot always, right? There's always a lot going on in our gospel passages, but I think this is important, right? It's the 12, and the 12 tribes of Israel, right? The 12. So Jesus is doing his renewal of Israel thing, his renewal of Israel mission, so as to bring about the restoration, the healing, and the rest of the world. Because here, this is impressive, I think, right? Right in the beginning, Jesus summoned his 12 disciples, gave them authority over unclean spirits to drive them out, to cure every disease and every illness. And he'll come back in the next little part and go further into that. But here, what is it, right? What kind of kingdom movement is this? There are any number of, say, contemporaneous kingdom movements at the time of, people launching rebel movements to knock Rome off their perch and to claim back, national sovereignty. Is this that kind of thing? No, maybe it is. Maybe he's sending them out to heal Israel so that Israel could form a better army. It's better when people don't have diseases and aren't held back by ailments if they're going to fight. But it doesn't seem to be the case. And of course, we know where the story goes as well. So he's sending the 12, not now just to say be symbolic of this new Israel, because everyone look at him and say, okay, 12, there's doing something a bit provocative there. But it's not just that. They're not just a symbol of Israel's restoration. They're going to be now working to affect Israel's restoration. And this is quite remarkable, right? The participation of the 12 in the mission of Jesus, and not just the mission of Jesus, but in his life that is rolling back the rule of sin and death, that is running counter to the corrupting forces of sin and death. Here the disciples are participating in that life and in that mission. Jesus is giving them his own life in order to be able to affect this reality. So we have the 12, and then of course we see that this mission, during Jesus's life, his single-minded focus is on Israel, the restoration of Israel. And why is it the case? Because it's the promise of God to bring blessing to his world through Israel. So he's restoring Israel according to the promise of old. This is a new Israel movement, right? And just as we've heard it a little bit, I've tried to give it some kind of like contemporary flavor to say like it's not us versus them or us against them, it's us for them. And we will see that work out. But here Jesus is restoring the us. Right? It's clear that God is for Israel. God is for his original plan. He's not the kind of God to cut bait, right? He's not made in our image and likeness, in the sense that, you get it wrong, well, scrap it. Scrap it, start again. It's easier. No, it's God making his way through. So whatever challenges and whatever hurts and whatever illnesses, and this is restoration now. God doesn't flee. He's not deserting. And this is all terribly important for us. I know this, how you bring this up 2,000 years, but because we're talking about Israel, but here this is also, right, the beginning of the church. And actually what happens is when I say new Israel, we're actually looking at those who are gathered around Jesus. Because this is then the determining characteristic of that renewal movement that continues today as the church, is those who are gathered around Jesus. Jesus is the King. And so then those who pledge allegiance to him, those who give their hearts and lives over to him, are living in his kingdom, helping to advance his rule, so on and so forth, right? Living for the plan and purpose of God. But we still live in that reality of us and them. And there's going to be an us and them until Jesus returns. But how are we working with that? Are we? I don't know. I see a lot of, and it's not primarily here, the people with whom I can make eye contact with at daily mass. It's however many rows that is. I'm getting better at it, so you guys in the back, you better watch out. Give me another 5 years, I'll be able to pick you out as well. It's not primarily here within these walls, within these confines. But I get a sense of the feel of the day, right? And the feel of the day, of course, us and them is just a human thing. But what we do with it, right? What we do with it matters, and we're tempted, or we're inclined by sin, by selfishness. We're inclined to us versus them, or us against them. It's the way it is. That's our wounded human nature. But if we live that as the church, oh my gosh, there's almost no bigger disgrace than that. We're so off track if that's what it is. If we're looking to exalt ourselves over others, that's not the way it is. It's not the way Israel was. Right? When we talk about the plan and purpose of God, this is what it is. To be for the other. And we can be for the other because God is for us. But if we take that in, the God for us part, then we have to live the life of God. And we have to be for the other. So we have to be the kind of generous outpouring that God is, we likewise, as the church, have to be. And if we're not doing that, there is no church. We're not the church if we're not doing that. If we're not living our lives as generous self-gift, if we're not living our lives as mercy, right, forgiving love, and trying to figure out how forgiving love takes root in the world now. If we're not doing that, we're not living to our purpose. And guess what? No one else is going to do it. I mean, why would anybody else do that, right? Because you look at that from the outside, you go, that's crazy. That's just crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you pursue forgiving love everywhere, right? Why would you work to meet the demands of love everywhere? You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it, except, of course, that that's who God is. And that's who Jesus reveals God to be. And Jesus likewise has called us to be his apostles also. Not simply that we're bringing a message. The medium is the message. We are the message. So what is the message? What is the message that God is going to write with our hearts and lives today? With our hearts and lives, and collectively as God's church here gathered in Boonton, New Jersey, right? What is the message that God is going to write with our life today? It better be mercy, right? It better be us for them. Because, again, that's who he is. And we're made to be that living reflection of who he is. And he is not only sending us, but he's equipping us for the task as well.